Hey guys, thanks so much for being patient with us. We had a couple of technical issues happening. Australian internet is fantastic. But we are here now and we're live and we're with Max Ulichney all the way from LA. Max has come down to do a Procreate 5 painting demo and he's going to go through the brush studio as well. So thank you very much for coming all this way, Max.
Thank you for having me. This is amazing. I'm just thrilled to be here. I apologize about my voice. Just I should say for the sake of the audience. The flight, I think, did a number on my voice, so I'm getting better. I apologize for how I sound, but thanks for your patience.
We're all good. We got some hot water here for Max to drink to try and keep his voice up.
We're gonna do what I can,
Yeah, thanks guys. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, please write all your questions in the comments. We'd love to answer some questions for you today. So if there's anything you're wondering about Max's artwork, his workflow, his brushes, Procreate 5 and the brush studio, please ask. It'd be awesome.
More questions the better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's a stuff that I take for granted that I'd love to answer. Because like I've been doing this for a while, so I'd love to just answer relevant questions from people, however they're interested in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You've been doing it for a while. Are you self-taught?
Art generally.
Yeah.
I went to art school, but I think as with anything, you get out what you put in.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of my education was strong, but there was a lot that I wanted to get out of it that I just, you only have a limited time. There's 4 years. And I studied CG. That was what I was kind of aiming to do. And that was my day job for 14 and a half years.
Yeah.
So the illustration thing has kind of largely been just for my personal sake. I mean, I did a lot of like art direction and concept art at work as well. It was a blend. So a lot of what people like, all my fans, to the extent that it sounds weird to say that it sounds like such a brag, but like I have a decent following. It's getting better every day, so thank you guys. But they know me for my personal work. They don't know me, they're not following me because I worked on title sequences for Marvel or something. And as cool as those are, it's not what people know me for. So to the extent that so my painting style is largely self-taught and studied in school, but mostly kind of like just pushed myself personally.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've been so you were in CG and stuff for 14 and a half years, you said, and now you've moved to illustration, 2D,
full time,
brush
and
making,
brushes,
of course, brush making. How do you stay passionate about what you're doing? Because I think sometimes it can be really hard when you try and make something that you love into your work. It can very quickly lose your passion for it.
There's definitely. It's funny because like when I'm doing styles for being a commercial artist, because what we did was we were commercial visual effects and post house. When I'm you have to be a bit of a chameleon, so you kind of put on different styles for different clients. And I love doing that. That's really fun, and it helped me find my voice by giving me just a breadth of skills. But it's easy to take notes when it doesn't feel like your personal style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then now as I'm getting into doing illustrations that look like my work, getting notes on that is harder than I anticipated. And it's totally fair. If it's a commission or an illustration for a magazine or something like that, they should give me notes. They're hiring me to do this. But there's something about, I have to flip a switch in my brain that says, oh, this is what I'm doing now. And my personal work is now desirable as professional work. So it's great. I just have to like modify my expectations and kind of almost be more objective about my personal work, which is
it can be really hard.
It's a bit of it's new to me, I guess, in a good way, but it is new to me.
Yeah, definitely. It can be really hard, I think, when people are giving you feedback on something that's almost like your baby. In a way. A lot harder to take that feedback.
But it's totally fair. I mean, that is the client-artist relationship, and as an art director for most of that time, or a lot of that time, I tend to put my own ideas forward, and so like it's just interesting to kind of flip things and modify my own. I don't know. It's working fine. I'm just like, it's all new to me, and a lot of this is new to me. So, but it's fun. It's nice to be wanted for what I have just been doing mostly for fun. Or in service of brushes, or in service of just personal expression.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we touched on that last week with Rebecca, guys, if you tuned in, about doing the work that you love and having that in your portfolio, and you'll be hired for the work that you love. So Yeah, really cool to be able to do your own thing and get hired for it.
But it is a double-edged sword. You know, you end up kind of chipping away at the personal aspect. And I imagine if this keeps going, maybe my personal work maybe this will become my professional work, and then I'll find a new professional
find
personal
something else for personal,
Because, you know, it's funny, like, apologize, sorry guys. A lot of times my personal work was a reaction to what I was doing at work.
Yeah, okay.
If it was really detailed stuff that I was doing at work, I would do sketches at home, and vice versa. So my work got more rendered as I got more, as I stepped away from the day-to-day on the, you know, like on the computer, painting everything very detailed, so it tends to be kind of like, you know, what's the word I'm looking, kind of a seesaw, I guess, between the two different, like, amount of rendering that I'll end up doing or things like that. So they tend to react to each other in a way that balances my creative output in a certain sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, how about we start looking at the brush studio? Could be definitely. Yeah, take a look at the new brush engine of Procreate 5, which is super exciting, guys. I'm sure you guys are going to really enjoy it.
It's really good. It's really good. It's such a huge upgrade.
Yeah.
It genuinely is.
So you've been using it for a little bit now.
I've had the beta for a little while.
Yeah, you've been must have been one of the first people that we gave a beta to.
Flattered. Thank you.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, so you've kind of seen what's been happening with the brush engine and the development of the brush studio as well. So how have you been finding it?
I'm really enjoying it. It's funny because I'm like, you know, you guys know I make brushes, but I'm kind of relearning how to do certain aspects of it. It's going great. But there are, like, just things that I'm experimenting with. You know, there's a lot more avenues to explore this time, which is really exciting. Some things that I've been wanting to make watercolor brushes for a long time.
Yeah.
Coming off the gouache pack, it's a natural progression. And so I've got kind of half a watercolor pack that I sort of branched off of the gouache pack.
That's really exciting.
So you want to make sure they look great. They want to live up to, like, that gouache pack I spent 11 months on. So
yeah, that was I think I started showing people on Twitter or telling people on Twitter about it before you'd finished developing it. I didn't realize it wasn't out yet because it had been in development for so long. And
I took a long time on that one.
Guys, you should buy this. And I remember you jumped in at one point. We're like, thanks, but it's not actually out yet.
But it took a long time because, like, gouache is one of those mediums that everybody uses a little bit differently. Yeah. Some people, you can use it like watercolor almost. You can use it a lot like opaque, thick, you know, graphic stuff. So that everybody interprets it differently. And I think it's nice to like kind of
Sorry, we're having a little bit of a techno party on the side here with the teleprompter. It's changing different colors with all your questions coming in, guys.
Sorry, I'm distracted. This is all new to me. This is a great setup, by the way. I apologize. I'm just reacting to everything else.
Pretty good for an amateur setup, hey.
However, so I wanted to branch off watercolors because it seemed like a natural progression. So I was getting really kind of too heavy and some of the washy, thin stuff with the gouache. So it's nice to, I wanted to explore it. Point is, the new brush engine came along at the exact right time. You know, in order to make a great watercolor brush, you kind of need like a dual brush setup to let it pool and kind of, you know, imply some like nice watery bleeding effects. So, and we can do it now. And I'm working on it now. Hopefully it'll be out, you know, shortly after the software releases. Yeah. I'm hoping, anyway.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Depending on when you guys tell me it comes out, because I don't know. I genuinely don't know. You can stop asking. I actually don't know.
It's this year, guys, because I know now that we've said that, people are going to be in the comments like, when? It's coming out this year. Yeah. Trust us. It's not much longer in the year. Awesome.
Yeah. It's a pretty good hint.
Yeah, pretty good hint. Yeah. Pretty good hint. It's going to be soon.
Good. Well, I'm excited for everybody to get their hands on
my gosh.
The beta seems to have been really popular. I've been following the hashtags. And it's like people are really into it.
Yeah, it's been really excited. And when it went, when the beta applications opened up, our website crashed and everything went down, and Twitter was ablaze. It was so much fun. Yeah.
Should we talk about the engine?
Let's go and have a look.
So I just did this quick little doodle. We'll come back to that. I'll probably, as I get into making brushes, maybe I'll start to fill it in a little bit. It's just a quick little doodle. You probably saw it, but it's getting more wintry. He's wearing a pea coat now, so I'm just kind of like getting, pea coat for the summer here.
Yeah, absolutely. Need one of those.
It's very confusing. Your seasons are...
Tasmanian weather, though. You arrived yesterday and it was pretty nice, and this morning it was raining and it's cold, and
so
that's fine. Yeah. It's Tassie.
Well, apparently it's doing the same thing back home.
Oh, okay.
LA, so.
You're not missing out.
No, apparently the weather is a disaster in America. So, happy Thanksgiving, by the way, to my American friends. Thank you for tuning in on Thanksgiving. I appreciate that. I'm signing in from Black Friday, so calling from the future.
Yeah, we've been getting a few people in the Instagram DMs wishing us Thanksgiving, so thank you very much, guys. Yeah. We don't celebrate it here in Australia, but we appreciate the sentiment and hope that you have a happy Thanksgiving as well. So thank you.
Thanks for tuning in on a busy family day.
Yeah.
Unless maybe you're just avoiding your family.
As it seems to be a couple of people on Instagram posting about the best ways to avoid family.
This is probably a good time to say hi, Mom.
Hey.
Anyway, so I guess if you can see my screen, hopefully, I will start getting in some brushes. So these are sort of just, I don't know, I'm sort of playing with a bunch of different random things and branching things off. My brush creation process is pretty random. It's just a lot of experimentation, honestly. I'm also trying to, I'll find references of brushes and effects that I'm trying to match. But a lot of it is just, honestly, it's just screwing around. There's a lot of just scribbling and speaking of scribbling, actually, if you can see this, I don't know, the drawing pad section is a lifesaver. This is so good. Yeah. Just the fact that I can scribble and then also get instant feedback. Let's see if I can show you something. And just play with the settings as I go is just so much fun. Yeah. So I don't have to like jump out, scribble, no, it didn't work, and then play with the slider again. I can see, it helped me actually understand some of the math that was going on behind the scenes a little bit better. And because, there's a lot of just like try setting, scribble, and try to make the same stroke again. Yeah. With the same pressure generally, and that doesn't always quite work. It's taught me how to use the brushes better, or how to create brushes better. This is nice. One of the things that I love about Procreate's interface generally is just how it's very like just space friendly, and so you can expand things and change your color. And so this is maybe easily missed by people who haven't really dug in a lot. But I really love just being able to change the color and clear the drawing pad and all this different stuff. But anyway, so it's nice for color dynamics to have some color options here.
Yeah, definitely.
Which we can get into.
I think that drawing pad on the side there was. I mean, I haven't really done a lot of brush making, but for me, it really changed how I thought about the brushes as well, and being able to see those changes in real time. I remember when I saw that one for the first time I can't remember who showed me in the engineering team, but someone showed me and they just like changed. I think it was the spacing. So the stamp just kind of expanded.
You can do that.
Yeah.
It's just it's so intuitive. I love it. That's a good one to test actually, because it's very visible.
It's a really good example of it. And I remember seeing that and just kind of going, whoa!
Oh wow, you can do that streamline too. Look,
yeah,
you guys, this is so cool.
So much fun.
But even things just like jitter and to help kind of understand the difference between jitter and scatter and all the different things that you're allowed to do with this. I mean, it just helps you understand it a much more I don't know, more comprehensive way. It's kind of nice. So I guess should we answer a question, or should we? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'll just let you guide this. But I saw the question as I was doing
it.
We
had a question up from the audience, guys. Someone wants to know whether the new brush engine changed the way that Max makes his pencil brushes.
The pencil brushes, it's funny. They might actually soon. The pencil brushes probably aren't going to be the ones that really take advantage of all the new power. Pencil brushes are pretty possible to do without a lot of compromise before. Yeah. Doesn't mean there won't be like excellent ways to make, like I'm not going to say no, because definitely everything's going to help. This is a great engine. But there's a new, where is it? The grain settings are a lot more, there's more options there too. So if you see the way the traditional way that Procreate has handled grain has been this moving grain, I guess tab mode, whatever you call it. Texturized grain is much more like if you've built brushes in other apps, this might be the way that you're more familiar with it. Yeah. So it's more like if you pick a paper texture, you're kind of like almost like dry, almost like kind of dry brushing across the top, you'll see the grain in a much more deliberate way.
Yeah.
So that could be a way to make some nice kind of thinner pencil, or like maybe charcoal or something with like really thick grainy paper.
Yeah.
That could be a good way to do it. So there will be definitely new options coming. I really prefer moving grain, I think, as I've been building new brushes in 5, just because it's A, it's what I'm used to, but B, I just think it's a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more options. But I'm using both. The watercolor brushes I'm using, the texturized stuff in combination with like the dual brush stuff, I'm using moving and texturized on the different brushes.
Yeah, okay.
Which gives you a lot of really interesting options. So I think when we're talking about watercolor brushes in particular, texturized is really, it'll give you a pure look at your grain source, I think, generally speaking. But there's other ways to use it as well, but that seems to have been my experience generally so far with it. So I think that's cool. I think the quick version is you'll probably see more benefit with making a more unusual brushes. Yeah.
So many options in the new brush menu. Just taking a beat here, guys, to say sorry for the construction noises if you can hear them. We have some apartments going up next door to the Savage Procreate HQ, so can't really do anything about that.
Well, you guys are raising the real estate prices because you just have this beautiful studio, right? So everybody wants to move in.
Everyone wants to live near Procreate. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good location too. Restaurants, everything.
By the way, Hobart is lovely. I'm falling in love with this place. It's so nice. I'm really.
I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing if you moved here.
It's true. Yeah. I could be here all the time, and hopefully my voice wouldn't sound like this.
Be able to jump on more streams and not worry about your voice.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I actually did look. I was walking down the street and saw some home prices, and I was like, have some more packs, but it's not too bad.
No, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Maybe if this watercolor pack works out, you guys.
If you all buy the watercolor pack, Max can move to Hobart.
Just saying.
We've got another question here. Someone would like to know how the primary and secondary brushes behave when you combine them with a dual brush. So
good question. I actually have a little bit of a mini demo ready to go. So I have these two sort of like kind of developed brushes. They're okay. They're kind of like sort of proto watercolor brushes. They seem to do okay. This isn't like a perfect demo. Here, how about this? Before I get into that, I'll show you the brush that I'm really happy with.
Yeah.
In fact, I've been using it. Let me show you. I'll show you the result of how I used them first. I used these on these. I did this bewitching with Max stuff around around Halloween. I really wanted to do more of those, but I ended up getting busy with other stuff. Let's see. Can I turn off the color on this? Where's my sketch? So, by the way, if you didn't know, you can hold down the visibility checkbox and it'll isolate. So you can see the ink. And can you see that? The kind of like the washy ink. So there's. I don't have an answer for that.
Oh, hey Siri.
What's up, Siri?
Now my phone's gonna go off.
How do I stop that? Well, anyway, sorry about that. That might happen again. We'll see. So, but you can see this like great puddling effect.
Yeah.
I kind of tripped over this effect. I was trying to make something like this, and I was like, oh man. So this was like, oh, I guess I'm making watercolor brushes. But the second I made this, it was the one that like, a lot of my brush process is like, screw around until you find something that like, oh, that feels good, and then just branch a million variations off of that. So this is the one that's probably going to be the basis for a lot of these.
Cool.
But just the way these things all interact is really lovely, and that's being done with the dual brush. So before I forget, there you go. And then I'll show you a couple other examples in the same series, just because I was fresh off of making that one, and I just love the way it looks. So all that stuff under the hat, all that filled in stuff.
Yeah.
I was looking at other people's Inktovers as it was going on, and I'm like, oh man, how do you get all that sophistication in the darks where it's not perfectly digital black, you know? I have a lot of brushes that do something like that, but nothing quite with like a really crispy edge, and also kind of just this like flowing sort of ink. So this is coming in the watercolor pack. I'll have that one in there. But let me show you. I'll show you this brush so you can see it in action. So you can see when it's thin, it's just an ink brush with a little bit of a broken up edge, just, you know, something like a Shiyun Kim kind of slightly crispy, it's just kind of nice little, like, just barely touch it and it just like kind of shreds a little bit. But if you give it a little bit more confidence, it'll, it starts to get into this really beautiful, I may have slightly messed with this brush, in fact. Because I've been experimenting for the sake of the stream, so I may have maybe slightly broken a setting. Which, by the way, in the beta, there's a save state thing that I probably should have used in this case. Which is very nice, by the way.
Yeah, really cool. Hey, so for all of our brush makers, you'll be able to be making your brushes and you can set a save state. So then when you go to, like, if you mess with the settings and you don't like it anymore, you can reset and it'll go back to that save state. That's part of our new little system with custom brushes, in that you also have like a signature page at the end. So if you're a brush maker,
I'll show you.
You can, bring it up. You can put your picture in there, sign it, and write who the brush is by.
Can I report a bug? My signature is upside down.
Is it?
I don't know how that happened. I don't think I was drunk when I made this brush. But anyway.
Oh dear.
So, hey, look, it's a beta. It's a beta, right?
Beta software, upside down signatures.
But anyway.
So that combined with the save state, so now when people buy your brushes, it's going to be very clear who that brush was made by, and on the off chance that we get some maybe brush thieves, they can't resell them.
I see you guys. I'm watching you.
They can't resell them as their own brushes because they'll have those signatures embedded in the brush, which is really cool.
Very nice.
Yeah.
It's such a nice way to like acknowledge the community.
It is.
Because really, I mean, you guys have the best engine out there, I think. And so like to recognize it and just, I just like it. I appreciate it.
Yeah. It's really cool.
But yeah, that create reset point is will definitely come in handy if I end up messing up brushes again. So I think it's okay. I think maybe I'm just working at a slightly different scale. Point is, what was I showing you? Oh, dual brush. Okay, so I'll give you a quick dual brush. So I have these two puddles, or I puddle clean, which is a very, well, it kind of does what it says. Oh, I guess I've been messing with this one too. Look, I do this for you guys. I'm kind of messing it. We apologize for the delay again. I ended up going ham on my settings while we were waiting. So maybe I'll try this one instead. This is kind of a clean. No, I don't want to do that one. Well, I'll use this one. Hopefully this doesn't screw up. Okay, so I'm going to use my puddle clean and this flat soft. And basically what this will be is like a, you can see it's kind of a soft edge. It's not very interesting on its own. It's fine. But what that's going to do is going to be a subtract on my watercolor brush. So I'll show you this. This is just a nice kind of like more or less flat edged thing. And this one is soft edged, and that will kind of ride along on the same stroke. So I'm going to undo those and then combine these. So select two. I don't know if the order matters. I think that's how I did it before. We'll find out. And then combine. There they go. The animation is nice. I like that. It's cute. I think I did that in the right order. So now, let's see. So I'm going to tap on this. Did I do divide or subtract? I think it was subtract. Is that right? Maybe that's too aggressive. I think that's doing, oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. So you can see when I'm, what's nice about this too is you can go into the settings for each of these brushes by tapping on one or the other. So I can make a stroke, and because everything's live, I can play with the settings on this. Do I have the wrong order? Can I flip this? Let's see. I swear I've done this before and I'm blanking there.
Hey, Michael.
What's up, Michael? Shouldn't you be hanging out with your family, man? Come on. I appreciate it, though. I shouldn't be talking to the screen.
Talking to the teleprompter camera.
I'm new at this. I'm not a on-camera talent. Georgie's used to this, but this is new to me. So yeah, you can kind of see this. If I make this a little bit more aggressive, it is set to divide. I think there's a funny interface thing going on. I apologize for exposing that, but you guys will find out about it sooner or later.
Yeah, it's all right. Beta software, we're expecting that.
Yeah, I mean, it everything works. It's just it happens. So there's different properties. Forgive me, I'm doing this under pressure, so it feels a little bit like I'm. Let's see, that's what I was looking for. Flow. So you can see the it gets a little bit more. I'm going to clear this so you can see better. It gets a little bit more transparent. This is very aggressive for the sake of the demo, by the way. You can see, with a little bit more finesse than I'm giving it at the moment, this is really, really powerful. Yeah. This is this kind of thing that, like, when I was making this, when I branched off the watercolor pack, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. So I kind of just shelved it. And then, coincidentally enough, you guys just, I don't know, a couple months later, if that, you guys are like, hey, guess what?
Hey, new brush
coming out with the exact same thing you needed. So I think that's a warning for procrastinators. You're doing the right thing. You know, just really sit on it until your problem solves.
Just wait, and then Procreate will give you the thing, and then it's fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the dual brushes are super cool, guys. They work really, really interestingly. So you get your two brushes, and they kind of like squish through each other, and you can choose a different blend mode for how they interact with each other, as Max was doing there with the divide.
I think subtract or divide is probably going to be one of the more common ones for watercolor kind of things.
Yeah, really cool. And you can do so many things with the pressure sensitivity in Apple Pencil now as well. So you'll be able to, like, if you have that set to subtract or divide, like the more you press on it, the more it will kind of dissolve, I guess, as well.
But it's nice too, because I mean, one thing I really love, maybe this isn't the best way to demo it, but now you're getting live things as you scroll. You can see how they interact without having to kind of guess and scroll and tap and scroll and tap. You know? So it's much more intuitive than it used to be, which is great, or than it is in most pieces of software, honestly. I just think this is really, really clever.
Really useful.
Difference between subtract and difference, by the way, or subtract and divide, that is, will be more clear when you're using a color, I believe. Let's see how that works. I think it's working. Oh, this is nice. The rendering mode is really something I'm really thrilled about.
I haven't dived into those yet. Yeah.
Doved. Well, this is really nice because you can. I'm sure there's more math that goes into this than I imagine, but there's a sense of, it's almost like an order of operations in terms of, maybe that's too nerdy. It doesn't matter. Basically, you can pick this, and especially with transparent things and with color, the effect. Let me set this to divide. I believe divide might make this more apparent. I may have messed with my settings too much by now. Yeah, I think I've maybe just screwed up my settings in playing with this. But basically, it changes how intense some of these different effects are. A lot of my watercolor brushes have been more on the light glaze kind of things, or it seems to like accent texture versus strokes in different ways. It's just something to play around with, honestly, and you're going to get a lot of variation out of these, which is really exciting. But it's been really nice for water effects because, like, as you get into some of these dual brush things, you get funny color interactions with some of those blend modes. Yeah. And this seems to solve a lot of the things. Basically, like, you get really intense dark colors in some cases where you don't want them. Oh, actually, I should say that's with, like, blend modes. Where is it? Rendering. Oh, right. Okay. So if you do, if I have this set to multiply, and then like intense blending or some of these others, there it is. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. I was on the wrong brush. It does these funny things. It gives you this like weird gray effect, which I'm not going to get it too far into the math behind it as far as I, understand it a little bit, but it seems to be that like it's like doing like a per stroke multiply and then subtracting or dividing the other brush out of it. But what happens is you get this really intense like dark red, black, and then you subtract out of it. So I'm like, oh man, I really wanted to do the subtract after the color, and that's what some of these other ones do. So it's like it's exactly what I was looking for. So it's brilliant. It's just the fact that you have the option now is huge.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know that was a long tangent. I apologize. For a brush maker, this is important to me.
It's really exciting.
It really is. It genuinely is. Like, it means that they're listening. I mean, I actually had I spoke to you guys when I was making some of these original ones. I'm like, I just want something like this. And then you ran with it and like made something better than I could have asked for. So it's just, the fact is you're listening and responding brilliantly. So thank you. Yeah. I know it sounds like I'm just blowing smoke, but really, like, this stuff actually matters to me. So I apologize. This is nerdy.
And these watercolor brushes that you're developing, you're planning to release those for Procreate 5?
Hopefully, as soon as close as possible to launch. Yeah. I don't know what day it's going to be, but I have, I don't know that they're going to be out there this year, just due to the holidays and all this stuff. Honestly, but hopefully within like a month, I'll have them out. So don't get too impatient. They're coming. But I've been, working on some stuff for you guys, and so I've just haven't had the chance to be like full on the brushes, but I'm having really a lot of fun with the beta, testing other stuff for you guys as well, just like getting feedback, and but it's been lovely, so I'm really happy with it.
And where can people buy your brushes, actually?
Oh, we should probably, thank you for asking. Well, you can.
Max has got his hat on.
I mean, where else are you going to wear these?
Yeah, right.
Like, I'm not going to leave it at home for this. Maxpacks.art is my website, or you can get them on Gumroad. Just search for Max Packs.
Yeah.
Spelled like this.
Would recommend, guys. I've used them as well. Yeah, really good stuff.
There's some merch out on the table outside. So I've got some pins and patches. The ones you guys didn't get at Lightbox, they're all out here now. So.
Yeah, I think they've all been snapped up by everyone throughout Savage. I think they didn't last very long.
Yeah.
But I believe that our team here have put the links to the brushes in the caption section of this video. So if you want to go and check them out, click the link, go and take a look.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Should we talk about more of this stuff? So I think some of the taper things has been in there. I'm not going to necessarily cover that unless you think it's worth going into.
The stroke taper stuff is really introduced it.
The interface is
things back.
The interface is cleaner, more intuitive to me now.
Definitely.
So I really enjoy that. You can link tip sizes and do a lot of this kind of stuff. But the fact is, you have feedback on it now. This is maybe not the best brush to demo this on because I'm just doing funny things. But I mean, with dual brush, I don't know that I'd do this. But with like an inking brush, it's huge.
Things, really good.
How about this? We'll just do that with that fountain pen. So we'll go in here. So you can see the effect of some of that better. I'll give you a cleaner line. This one does. Oh, actually, I should say I love the pressure on some of this stuff. There's a pressure curve. Pressure curve. There it is. That I've got on this one that I really love. Just the ability to like put a more nuanced pressure curve on this is huge. So I have all this nuance down when it's thin where you want it. You know, because like I don't know. It's like most software is just linear, but the fact that I can put a pressure curve on every setting, all these are numerical pressure curves, so you can be really precise with it, which is awesome. It's just it's an advancement on what was there, but it's just better. Where was I going with that? Taper. So clear this so you can see what I'm doing. And by the way, some of the gestures still work, so I can scrub and that'll still clear it. But so I don't really need to use taper on this one because, like I said, actually that worked. Kind of worked. I've got a little like square end on that one, so I can still do my. I do have a oh, that's why it's clean because I have taper on it already. Or do I? Maybe I don't actually. But I could by doing this. Is that not working? Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. So you can kind of see it's subtle. You know, it doesn't need a lot, honestly. The touch taper is nice. Oh, classic taper you can always switch back to. I think the new one's better. But anyway, so like a lot of the stuff that you're familiar with is still here. Of course. It's just sort of the interface is dramatically improved. Just the fact that it's all like easy to flip through and you use the whole screen, which is excellent. Just the fact that I can save a reset point is awesome. Save. That's new. I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
It's also going to get me better at signing my signature upside down.
I think that save point is one of my favorite things about the new Brush Studio
really
by far.
Nice. I mean, especially for brush makers. I know people adjust my brushes, and you're more than welcome to do it. Once you buy them, they're yours. Please don't sell them. But but I know everybody works a little differently, and some people like to have. I like a lot of chisel tip brushes because it feels natural to me. Sometimes people want their chisel 90 degrees off from where I like. It's fair enough. Change it. But say one day like you've modified too many things, you want to go back to the original.
You'll be able to do that now.
So good.
It's really useful.
I feel better about putting them out in the world, just knowing that there's a save state that they can reference.
Yeah.
I do recommend though, however, if you're going to mess with brushes, duplicate them, branch them off.
Always. Yeah, it's really good advice to duplicate your brushes before you do anything to them. I would also add, do the same with your artwork. If you're going to do any major changes to an artwork, totally duplicate it in the gallery beforehand, and then if you stuff it up too much and you're like, oh no, you have the original piece that you can go back to. Yeah. Top tips. Yeah.
Oh, actually, as long as we're at it too, you can always just hit cancel on your session here. If you're experimenting too much and you're like, I don't know where I started. So, yeah. But to your point though, the duplicate thing, I'm going to go back out to my gallery. You can see I have versions of a lot of my stuff. So sketches, that's line work over here, this red one. And then they just get more developed. It's a habit. I'm a compulsive saver on desktop apps. Just I have to be. I've crashed too many times. I've crashed here and never lose stuff. But there is a reality to this stuff where you're gonna it's software. Things happen.
Yeah.
So
it's just pays to be a little bit extra careful, I think, and do that sort of stuff.
You'll never regret it.
Nope, never.
And if you're shy on space, just delete them when you're done. Okay.
Apparently we need to remirror the iPad.
Ooh, okay. Sorry, guys. Let me see what I can do here.
Guys.
See if I can do this from here. Oop, the wrong one. Sorry. OBS. Yeah. Okay. Am I back? How's that, guys? Am I good?
We back yet?
Yes. No.
Maybe. Yeah. Cool.
We're
Seems
good?
like
Okay.
we are.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, so with the Brush Studio, actually, I think one of my other favorite features of Brush Studio is color dynamics.
Color dynamics.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Have you
That's
done
really fun.
many of color dynamic-y things with your new brushes that you're developing? Or
I'm also developing oil brushes.
Oh, nice.
I'm really excited about oil brushes. The watercolors are like something I just want to get out because I'm excited to put it out in the world and finish that half a pack that I've had going on for a while. I like watercolor a lot. I've got, I taught myself watercolor 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. It's not my go-to medium though, at least not digitally. I like it when I'm painting traditionally, but it's been a while. But I'm really excited about oils. Last year I took a boot camp for like oil painting.
Oh, cool.
At Watts Atelier in Southern California. That was awesome. So I've been I'm trying to get back into oil painting for fun myself. So I've been wanting to get into, actually speaking of duplicating, I'm going to duplicate that before we get too far. Yeah. So I want to get into oils here because I just think it lends itself better to digital than strictly watercolor for myself anyway, for my medium, for my preferences, I should say. And that's like, I think there's just a lot of options for kind of impressionistic effects with color dynamics. So I am using it a little bit on some of my brushes. Turns out not this one, but I will. I'll show you. Let me clear this. Show you red. So you can do it on stamp. I've been doing it mostly stroke just because I feel like I have more control.
Yeah.
But you can do hue. And it's not going to show you a ton there, but you can, as I paint more, it's just going to show you a ton of options there, which is cool. But you can also do it on, you can do it on per stamp, which is kind of wild. That's a little hard to control, frankly. But I think there is a way to make that work that I haven't completely thought of. You could probably do like a spray of impressionistic mini strokes that way and have it flow in a direction. It's not the way I'm used to working. I don't have any built that like would really take advantage of that currently. But it's cool. I'd probably want to space things out a little bit better so they don't overlap quite as heavily or things like that. I see a lot of concept artists use a lot of like per stroke color dynamics, which could be a great option for people doing like rock strata or bark or anything else like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Fur, maybe something like that.
I think that color jitter or color dynamics in stamping and stroke is it's really common. We see it quite a lot in concept art, a lot in sci-fi stuff as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a great way. It's a good way to underpaint too.
Yeah.
And I like to create kind of a mess before I get into the finish. I'll show you one that I really did that on. Not to go too crazy. I don't want to be too scattered, but look. If you knew me. So this is a piece that I did recently for Earthdraw 2 from 3D12. This is a really brilliant campaign they're doing. You can buy a print of this for charity.
Say, are they still out? Are they still?
I believe it's still going on.
Just a little extra plug here, guys.
I think it is. Yeah. It was directly inspired by the burning rainforest and everything, and climate change generally. This is a really important event. You can buy prints, and they go to benefit the rainforest and some charities in England as well, where they're based, where 3D12 are based. Point is, on this, I used a lot of color dynamics on this per stroke, and I created this huge mess. Maybe I can time lapse this for you. It's probably more useful. I like to create a big mess underpainting, and in this case, I did sort of an overlay with a value painting.
Yeah.
So I'll skip forward. You can see I just kind of created a big medium tone mess that I could work into, and then I did a lot of value on top, and then kind of overlaid it, and then I painted on top. So I kind of just like made a problem for me to solve. Yeah. And I think that leads to a lot of more traditional looks, because when you're working traditionally, you're going to be layering, and I like to work loose to tight in that way that I think helps that sort of mentality. So at this point, I'm painting on top. and then some color corrections at the end. But I think that way, with color dynamics per stroke, you can make a really great mess.
Yeah.
And then refine where you need to, or blend where you need to. I think that could be a cool way to work for a lot of people.
Definitely.
Or especially if you're, just want to make a big colorful thing. It's a great way to start, But should we go into, should we do more color dynamics, or do you think we covered it?
I think it's fairly self-explanatory, really.
I think so.
Set it to a lot of things, guys. It's also works on pressure.
Oh, and secondary color.
Yeah,
is new,
and secondary
actually.
color is pretty cool as well. So you've got a heap of different sliders in each section. I personally really love it on pressure because I can get like a full spectrum of rainbow through the single stroke just by applying a bit more pressure in it. But you can work with secondary color as well. So as Max was showing you now, you can pick a second one, and then if you have your color dynamics brush set to using secondary color, it'll go between those two colors that you've picked there based on whether you're doing it by stroke, stamp, pressure.
It's an important note that those color swatches up to the top right act differently than they used to now. So that is a secondary color. So if I change it from red and yellow, I've also got some hue in there, so it's a little bit funny. But if I change it to red and green, now you'll see mud, red and green mud caterpillars. You get the idea.
Yeah.
That I mean, that's kind of a weird demo, but it works brilliantly, really. And same thing on stroke. You can imagine how all that stuff extends.
Yeah,
works really well. I think that's probably more useful maybe on stroke, for kind of oily effects, kind of like a dirty, kind of like a uncleaned brush, kind of effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's going to be really fun. I'm so excited to see what people do with color dynamics.
Yeah.
I know it's been asked for a long time, so.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
I think also just like I tend to put a little bit on for my oil brushes just between strokes, because you can never really mix the same color twice. So just kind of like might as well lean into that effect and just kind of embrace what oils do naturally. And you can always turn them off. If you modify the brush, you can always do your own thing with it. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. What else should we cover?
I think we've had a good look at the majority of the things in there. Or a fair few of the things.
How about this? We'll just step through it and see if anything is interesting. So, stroke properties, this is all kind of standard stuff. Pressure, you've seen. Oh, this is nice. The shape source is slightly modified. So now you can make your stuff.
Oh, yeah. I haven't played with this one yet either.
This is nice. I like this a lot. And the fact that you can rotate is all excellent. Pressure, roundness, and all these things. You can kind of imagine how that stuff is going to extend. This is a little bit modified, and it's just a cleaner way to view your things. So this is just nice and clean. But it's just a little bit different from what it used to be. It's all still there. All the stuff you're used to is still there.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit more better organized. And you can also in here, this took me a minute to figure out, you can 2-finger tap to invert. So that's there. Grain, same deal. It's all kind of similar. The texturized thing, like we talked about, is the kind of the biggest difference, I think, between what we had before. And a lot of these things have
texture editor now too. Have you played
around with that? Oh, that's right. I have actually. I made a watercolor brush that had a bit of a modification.
Oh yeah.
The excuse me, sorry, my voice is going.
Good. Damn airplanes.
I know. Someone's probably a carrier on that airplane. But what I really love about this is before, if I had to make a texture, I'd have to go on desktop or something and stamp a tileable texture. Now you can. Is this still on there? Did I forget it?
Oh.
Am I showing something off that I shouldn't be showing off?
Might
well, at one point, maybe it moved and I'm unclear as to where it went. I apologize. However, for a minute, well, maybe I shouldn't mention a feature if it's been taken out.
Oh, I might be wrong. It might be a bug.
Well, there
was a cool texture thing, guys, where you can make your textures for your grain.
Yeah, it would tile stuff for you.
Yeah,
that's clearly where I was going with that. Unless it moved or I'm just doing something wrong, it should be there. I am unclear as to where it.
All right, the button was
invisible. Sorry.
Invisible.
Well,
it might be to do with the white interface, actually, light interface.
Oh, it could be. I found that the light interface is better for me making brushes. Because the other way, it's a little abstract. Going white on dark is a little hard for me to And it's also for color stuff that made it hard for me to see. So my whole interface is light interface now because of that reason. Auto repeat is really cool. You can see what it's doing. It's very, very cool. And you can also use this within your stamp tools if you need to make something like that. But this is just brilliant. You get the idea. You can see what it does. But I really enjoy that. Come on. Well, might have a little bit of a delay here. There it is. Border overlap. You get the idea. But I was using one of the built-in watercolor textures, but it had kind of a noticeable repeat.
Yep.
And so I just tooled with it, got rid of it that way. It's great. Great new texture. So now I have a slightly customized thing, but you could use a photo for this. You could use whatever you want. So you don't have to like have a scanner and have a whole thing. You can kind of just get going. It's great. It's really nice. But I think that's a huge upgrade. Just having really that native saves me from just sitting at my desk and doing my typical thing. Not that you couldn't do it with kind of manual tiling, but just
no, you could. But it's just easier to have it all in the same space, I guess.
I'm basically doing the same thing that's doing anyway. Might as well use it. This is great though, and you have wet edges now. Maybe not the most impressive use of that in this case, this particular brush. But you got blend modes, like you're used to. Wet mix is still here and looking better than ever. Color dynamics we covered. Dynamics, these have always been, I don't think that's really all that different. I use that a little bit with ink things. The faster you go, the more kind of, or the less ink it lays down, so it kind of gives you like a bit of a dry brush effect. It's pretty subtle. It's not the kind of thing you're going to make a whole, you don't want people to be like, why is this not behaving if they have a faster hand than other people?
Yeah. But,
there is a certain amount of reality to the way that works, which is cool to have. So, it sneaks into some of my brushes here and there. But then I guess, the tilt is nice, so you can visualize it better.
Yeah, tilt is cool.
That's nice. Just the ability to see it in action is great. I don't know what setting I had it at before. It was at 0, but I have a sweet spot for a lot of my tilt stuff, depending on the effect. It's much more noticeable in pencils and
for sure.
ink and things for like kind of dry brush effects. Properties. So a lot of this stuff is, I think, more or less unchanged.
A lot of the stuff from Procreate 4 you'd be used to. It's just in a different interface and a bit easier to kind of play with.
Once you find where it is, you'll know exactly what to do. And then there's just a lot more options on top of it.
Yeah.
It's really cool. In addition to, ABR import, which is pretty fun.
Too. That's pretty fun too. So if you guys have had
any
to buy
my brushes.
Yeah, please buy the brushes.
Yeah.
Any of your favorite Photoshop brushes that you used to have or still do, you can import them now into Procreate with Procreate 5. So they'll drop in, they'll become dot brush brushes, and you can alter them with any of the same alterations that you have in the brush studio. So,
well, I will say I do think this is a better brush engine. I mean,
thanks.
Personal preference, but I really do think it's more powerful. Like, I think it's worth pushing and experimenting and learning new options, not just getting stuck in your old ways. Like, I know personally, like, this is my new home for art just because I prefer it. But I had to question my previously held sort of beliefs that Photoshop is the one and only way to go. I think it's just it's worth bringing your tools over if you really can't live without them, but it's also worth broadening horizons. And I stand by my brushes. I think I make some good stuff, but it's not for everybody. I get it. I'm not trying to pretend like I'm the only person in the game.
No, it's a bit of a learning curve to all new software, but I think if you can push through that, it can really help creativity as well. Trying something new is always good.
I think it's always been good for my creativity to use an unusual or difficult brush. Because it just makes you think differently.
I think if you're stuck, I think it's a great way to do that. Traditional as well.
Yeah,
like if you're just kind of stuck doing your same thing, and then you go, play out of the box, I'm going to go to the art store and buy something completely different that I wouldn't use. Yeah. I
literally just bought some water-soluble graphite up the street.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So but I don't know how to use that. I mean, the whole point is to push yourself outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, right? For sure. We've got a few minutes left, so if you guys have any more questions that you want to ask, please put them through. But otherwise, maybe we should do a quick painting demo. Some fun.
Save my voice a little bit.
Yeah, save your voice a little bit.
Apologize, it's getting worse the more I talk. I made this brush recently for that 3D Total piece, that blue piece. And I've also got a couple of these other ones that I've done for another demo recently, which is kind of a nice little like old school simple gouache brush that will be attached to a thing you can buy soon. I won't mention it until I know I'm allowed to. However, I'm going to use, how about this? Maybe I'll start with that technique that I was telling you. I'll just make a big mess and show you some of the things you can do. This is something I really enjoy. This is one of my new favorite brushes. It's not an everyday brush, but it's a Terp scrub.
Oh, cool.
But with a dual brush, so kind of like the harder you push, the thinner it gets. Kind of like just like a real Terp. Like if there's sort of a turpentine, I guess if people don't know what I'm saying. The harder you push, the more it kind of like scrubs it away.
Yeah. Which
is really exciting. So it's kind of like a watercolor effect, but in different, just different in result. It's a bad color to show you. Let's see. I'll go a little heavier on it. You can see like the harder I push, the more it pushes it out.
Yeah.
So it's like a nice way to tone a canvas, but then the harder if you get on it, it kind of scrubs it out and smooths it out, just like you would toning a real canvas. This is going to be for the oil pack whenever that comes out. But I've got some color dynamics on it. You can see it's pretty subtle, but it's there. This is not a precious brush, so the idea is just like go a little crazy and make a mess. So if I wanted to, just tone the canvas, lift off enough to get some color dynamics, probably just be a little bit messier with it, because why not? But like I said, I like to, get a little color variation as I go. Should I talk over the chainsaws?
Yeah.
Or whatever those are. So that, I think that's actually a really fun brush to use. Like I said, it's a little unwieldy. It's not the kind of thing you want to use for everything, but it's a nice. It's more versatile than you think. I like to use it to give a little texture on top of stuff.
Yeah.
Or if there's just a big flat area, I think it's nice to just to use it that way. By the way, this is nice too. I love that.
Oh yeah, floating color picker.
Really, really cool. So I think
that's not something I ever thought I would need, and then I got the beta, and I started using it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is definitely a solid in my workflow from now on.
Yeah. So you can still get a lot of this different stuff along the way. I tend to keep it on this one just because I find I like to know exactly where my absolute values are.
Yeah.
But you're welcome to use this. I just find it a little bit hard to know where my white is, or my blacks or whatever. So it's just I find it more intuitive to keep it on that. You can see this the Terp scrub is not very opaque, so it's good to just like lay down a base of stuff as you go. Let's see, it's kind of a pea coat, I guess in this case. So I'm sneaking up on the color. I don't like to go too opaque or do like flatting. If anybody knows that technique, it's where I do it sometimes certainly, but like if I'm trying to be more or less traditional, I don't like to use it much, or I like to layer and layer and layer, and then like clean up edges after the fact when it's more or less flat. Just because I feel like edges are what are the biggest difference between a digital piece and a traditional piece. Yeah. You'll never find a traditional piece with a perfect edge. So you'll always find the most interesting transitions are in a traditional piece are the edges, from rolling off from one surface to another, or you'll get a little peak of canvas. To me, that's the most interesting part of a painting is that. So I always like to not overly clean. It takes a little bit more work. It's nice and organized to flat everything, but for my money anyway, at least it's a lot more interesting to just layer and kind of embrace imperfection. Yeah, I just think it's fun.
Someone in the comments reckons that your voice is summoning the chainsaws.
It's probably the same tone, huh? I apologize for that, guys. I really wanted to be
the song of your people.
I know, yeah, exactly. I really wanted to be in my best state for you guys. I apologize.
It's always so relaxing to watch people draw. I'm sure you guys are the same. That's why you're watching this live stream. But I find that I always learn something new when I'm watching the live streams, especially. But just watching people draw is always so calming.
It's a great brush to just lay a base down, and then you can get more opaque afterwards.
Yeah, it's really cool.
But I'm not paying attention to my edges at all. I'm kind of just going crazy. Because I can always erase, I can always... done, You don't need to overthink it. Oh yeah. I like to kind of keep it in the same color family more or less. I don't like to do too much like red, yellow, orange. Like I'll try to kind of cluster my warm colors a lot, which is nice. I mean, this stuff is really, it's a good way to show that. You know, the some of these kind of think of them like analogous colors really is a good way to share that. But it's kind of more into that's what's going on in my head a lot. So it's cool to share that and let people see. Oh yeah, that's what I'm aiming for. But it's like it's much more visual. I know myself. I prefer to see things that way, just because it's just makes sense to my brain. So even when I'm doing browns, I'll like more like desaturate if I want to make it feel browner and less like the skin tone or something like that. There's a lot of translucency in the transition between like skin and hair that if you pick like a totally different color, it'll feel like a wig.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Not that I'm being like super precious about this painting obviously yet. But I don't like to do that too early because then you're going to fight it as you work. So the earlier I can kind of establish sort of a color harmony between some of these things, the better off I'll be later. Where I don't have to like blend, I don't have to fight it.
Yeah. Do you go into a piece thinking of a color palette already, or do you just kind of grab something and go with it?
It depends. You know, like it depends on the focus of the piece. A lot of times it's important to the narrative. It's always in my mind. I like a lot of big bright color, and it's always part of the strategy, of course, planning and painting. But it's sometimes I'll just I know my value structure better than I know my colors.
Yeah.
That I can kind of tell you. I have much better plan for my values usually first.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's just less variables, and it's also more. Can I show you that piece?
Yeah.
I don't want to get too far into this. I'll hold a little bit back, but this is a piece that we just worked on.
Just did, yeah. This is a
literally
really good
just
example
delivered it right
those.
Before I got on the plane, basically.
Yeah,
the day before,
pretty much, yeah. So this is a piece that Max actually worked on with us for the Procreate 5.
Yeah.
So you guys haven't seen it yet.
I'm gonna hold a bit of it back.
Yeah.
I'll show you some early stuff, but I'm not gonna. We'll do the big reveal later. But in this case, this is the kind of the first version of it that I shared with these guys. This is something I'd had in my head for a while. I visited Huntington Gardens in Pasadena. That I love that place, but it's a lovely botanical garden. And on the way to the Japanese gardens, there's just one little clearing that really caught my eye. It was like just an overhanging tree, and the light was hitting it just right. And I was like, "Ooh, this feels like a staged scene, sort of." I was like, it just landed in my head. I didn't realize until later I was painting that scene, which was funny. It wasn't like super conscious, but I came back to it and I was looking up reference through my paintings. I was like, oh, of course that's where it came from, or my photos. That is. It's like, so that's exactly what I was painting. It's almost identical. But it's nice to just, life experience is a good way to filter. I mean, we are filters for our experience, right? And so going to gardens and things, I have a bunch of photos they had like bonsai trees at this Japanese garden section, and I was like, oh, you just scale these up and you got like a great concept art tree. Travel's great for that, just kind of getting outside your usual comfort zone. So I mean, this is fun. This is research in a way, But point is,
totally work trip, totally.
Yeah,
completely.
Exactly. So this is completely what I'm thinking about is values in this one, because it's like this top-down sort of clearing, and I wanted the raider in the foreground to be shadowed and kind of mysterious, like they're jumping out from the shadows. So it kind of, the lighting was a big part of the narrative on this one.
Yeah.
And you want the Pegasus to be looking beautiful and kind of glorious and translucent and colorful. One of the things we talked about was we wanted a lot of color and a lot of vibrancy with the piece. And so I was thinking about it very, very early on. So especially with like a hard light like this, you want to have some decently dark shadows to feel like the light is very bright. So I knew there was going to be like a lot of overlap between layers and a lot of like, light, medium, dark kind of interplay. So it's a bit of a puzzle on things like this. But this one worked out pretty well for that. So I think, I don't know how much to show. I'll just leave it there probably, but you can see that through the thumbnails at least. Some of the color that we're talking about.
Some vibrancy happening there.
So a lot of that was sort of just like overlays of playing with different kind of color options, but it's mostly local color. There wasn't like a lot of colorful lighting in this one, so.
I think we're being given the go-ahead to show it.
Oh, okay.
Actually, yeah. So.
Right. Well, this is a big reveal, guys.
Here, guys.
Here we go. There it is.
Yeah, beautiful piece.
Thank you. I had a really fun time with this one. So I was using color dynamics with this. Some of those oil brushes that I showed you. Some of the gouache pack for the grasses and things. There's a lot of good like shredded things in there, but a lot of color dynamics around here. All the values are very grouped, but there's a lot of warm and cool there. Apologize. I'm gonna take a sip of water.
No, all good.
I'm losing my voice.
All
I
good.
apologize, guys.
We haven't got much longer as well, guys. I think we're actually
questions would be great.
A tiny bit over time. So if you've got any more questions, get them in now before we start to wrap it up, I guess.
But yeah, so it was nice to like play with some really hard glowing light and a lot of this warm, cool stuff I'm really happy with.
Yeah.
You know, like this translucence thing. If you go here, actually, let me see if I can do. I'll do a grayscale so you can see how much it's basically the same value structure as it was. Set this to color. Oh, by the way, this is the nice update.
Yeah, new blend mode
I like
menu.
But you can see the values are very similar to the way they were. So you can see it's still just like grouped medium tones. You know, it's a lot of warm, cool, but it's not a lot of value change. It's almost identically the same value, which is great for translucency and fur and feathers and things. It's really fun.
Yeah.
So you can get a lot done with just a little bit of like hue change. We have a question about color dynamics and wet mix.
Oh, again with color dynamics, yeah. So someone wants to know whether color dynamics works well with wet mix brushes. That's an interesting one. I've not played with that myself. Have you had a chance? It works
as expected.
Yeah.
I think, you know, I don't think there's too many surprises. I've got some color dynamics on the stroke, not on the brush tip.
Yeah.
Here, do you want to try it? I don't know the answer, but I suspect it's pretty intuitive. We'll make a big example of this. Let's see. I'll do a big red color. Let's try this one. So this has probably too much jitter. Let's see if I can. Where was it going? Scatter. Yeah. Color dynamics, and we'll do. Okay, and then we'll do some wet mix. I guess this is using wet mix. Yeah, there it goes.
Yeah.
You see that? So it's a little wacky, but it works.
Definitely interesting.
Here, I'll take that to the canvas. And then you can sort of like if you lift the pressure off, you can get the pressure. It mixes better. That's the way I like my brushes. Is to be a little bit more pure as I'm putting more pressure down. And then if I lift off, it's almost like it's kind of just like letting the bristles drag along the brush. So that is kind of the way I think of. It feels like oil to me. So yeah, it works. Just don't make a brush like this. This is stupid.
Reminds me of the very hungry caterpillar or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the very smeary, smudgy caterpillar. Yeah. So don't do this, but yes, it works. It works.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I think we might be just about done.
Okay.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions for Max, you can find him on Instagram, of course. I can't quite remember your handle off the top of my head. Is it just your name?
Just my name. Yep. Max Ulichney.
Just his name. And otherwise, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your patience with the technical issues that we had earlier this morning and for the chainsaws that Max was summoning with his voice.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it, and we can't wait to release 5 for you guys. It's going to be great. And soon. Promise. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys.